So we're going to now do a little bit of a role-playing exercise. Now, I've got to warn you about role-playing exercises. When I involve myself in a role-playing exercise, I no longer am me. I'm somebody else. I take no responsibility for what this person says or does because I'm in a role. You are also expected to take a role. I'm going to assign you a role. I'm going to take a role. We're going to do this to elucidate how our roles shape what we want, what we think, and what we decide. And this particular role-playing exercise has to do with the Acme Widget Corporation. When I put on these glasses, I'm not me. I'm the person known as Hacksaw Bob. I got that reputation years ago when I used to run another company, and I basically discovered that 2/3 of our costs were employees. 2/3 of our total income went to paying employees. And I said to myself, well, this is crazy. If we want to improve the profits for our shareholders, then we've got to slim down a little bit. That was me playing Hacksaw Bob. Now, the Acme Widget Corporation, I want to show you the current trend of our profits compared to some plans I have for you. Now, the current trend, here's year 1, here's year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Here's what we're doing. We're making money. You, by the way, are my board of directors. I've appointed everyone here. It's nice to have you once again for one of our board of directors meetings. And as you can see, we have a good 5 years ahead of us, but I have a plan I developed with the aid of a fellow named Dunlop, who works for McKinsey, and this plan will do wonders for us. I'm going to introduce to you, first of all, Plan A and then Plan B, but I want your assent. I want you to agree with me because I want to move forward with this plan, all right? Now, my Plan A for actually increasing our profits much more than we are now involves big savings. I'm going to cut payroll costs by 60%. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to reduce wages of all employees, except top executives, by 40%. I'm going to eliminate health care and retirement benefits for all employees, except top executives. And I'm going to accomplish all of this by firing 25% of the workforce. I'm going to outsource jobs abroad. I'm going to substitute software for people wherever I possibly can when it's cheaper. And what else? Oh, I'm going to improve overall efficiency. And oh, by the way, I'm moving our plant to a non-union state. Thank you, and I'm glad you're with me on this. Anybody have any problems? Anybody have any problems? Because I'll just take your quietude as assent, right? You're okay? Very good. You're all happy with this. Wait. I just want people to put up their hands. This is a large group of board of directors. And I will come back to you. Yes?
I was thinking that there might be a bit of a problem with public image of doing all of these drastic changes so quickly.
Public image? Mm-hmm. Well,
that it might cause consumers to avoid our products.
Well, I'll tell you, the McKinsey people, that was the first question I thought of. We obviously pay a lot to preserve our public image, our positive public image, with people like Acme Widgets. Why? Because we are wonderful people. We, the makers of Acme Widgets. But they tell me that actually they've done these kinds of operations in many companies around the country.
Oh, have they?
I'm sorry?
Have they?
Yeah. And there's been no diminution in sales.
Oh, that sounds wonderful then.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm very pleased about it. Anybody have any problems with this at all? Yes.
Are we worried at all about employees quitting if they're losing their health care and retirement benefits and going to work for our competitor?
Yeah, well, I'm not worried about them quitting, honestly, because the ones that quit, first of all, we have a big problem. Our workforce is getting old. You know that. And I want them to quit. And the ones who quit, really, more power to them. Look, a lot of, I want you to, the McKinsey people have made a very, very strong case to me that there is no reason for us to be a kind of a charity. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, if people really are being carried by us and they can move to their highest and best uses, and those highest and best uses are somewhere else, working for somebody else, that's great. That makes the entire economy more efficient, right? So we're not just improving our company, we're improving the efficiency of the entire United States. By the way, I'm going to change the role playing just a little bit. Now you guys are still boards of directors, but you're you. That means you are who you really are. You are just part of the board of directors, but you can take whatever personal view is you want. But I'm still going to be behind here.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Let me just repeat. Your concern is that my employees are also consumers. And aren't we by reducing their wages, aren't we potentially reducing our base of consumers? And I considered that question. In fact, Henry Ford, you might have remembered, way back at the turn of the last century, Henry Ford paid his auto workers much more than the typical auto worker was earning. And why? He said he did that so they would have enough money to turn around and buy Model T Fords. So it's a consideration, but I'm not really worried about that because, you see, they buy a lot of other things, and a lot of people who buy our widgets are from all over the country and all over the world. The amount that is going to be actually affected by these wage cuts, the number of people and the amount of decline in demand is minuscule when you consider that our customers are so widespread. Yes, up here.
So I'm a bit concerned about the logic of how we go about this, because your graph shows profits for the next 5 years, but as a company that's already profitable, shouldn't we be aiming to invest more in our company to grow it more, expand into different sectors? Why are we settling for just cutting costs and leveling out our market when we can be expanding when we're in the position to? This seems like a very short-sighted decision.
Well, you have a nerve. No, it's not. I understand what you're saying. It sounds, just looking at the next 5 years, sounds short-sighted. But to tell you the truth, the stock market is only very short-term oriented. The stock market is only looking at the next quarterly earnings. I mean, 5 years is actually an eternity when it comes to the stock market. And our responsibility, yours and mine, is to maximize shareholder returns. That is why we are in business. And if the stock market is short-sighted, too bad. That maximizes shareholder returns in the short term. That's all the market is concerned about. There are some people, well, I'm going to call on you. Yes, you had a question. The question was, Hacksaw Bob, am I a religious, spiritual, or humanitarian kind of person? That is none of your business. Why do you even ask me? We are in business. We are in competition. Okay, can I just make this very clear to you? If we don't do this, our competitors are going to do this. In fact, our competitors are using management consultants very similar to the management consultant we're using, and they're all considering doing exactly what we're doing. In fact, they're all doing it. We are all in competition. If they don't do it, if we don't do it, they will do it, and they're going to do it anyway. So we have to do it.
That's not true. You seem very angry.
I am not angry. No, I am impatient. I'm not angry. I never get angry. This is a role, you know, I'm playing a role. The other thing that I want to make sure you understand before we go on is that if we don't make these cuts, there are people called corporate raiders, actually more politely known as private equity managers. They are rounding up money right now, and they will use that money to take us over and make these changes and then sell us for a big profit. So this is not on me. This is the way the system works. We have no choice. I'm a nice person. One more question. You're concerned about the harshness of this plan.
Because there's some unfair labor practices involved?
Unfair labor practices. Oh, da-da. We're going to a state where there's almost no union activity. So who cares?
Okay.
Okay. So let me since all of you like this plan, and again, we can go back to who you really are and who I really am, but I do want to get your view on this. All of those of you who are in favor, all of you who are in favor, press yes, A for yes, and if you don't like my plan, B for no. Go. Okay, let's end the bidding there. B, you don't like my plan. Well, you're entitled to your own view, but I want you kind of all role-playing aside to consider the arguments I made, that we're serious. Number one, if we don't do it, some private equity firm is going to come in and do it. And number two, that all our competitors are looking for ways of doing this. And number three, our major responsibility is to maximize shareholder value. If you take those three, then it is very hard for you not to agree. Although in your heart, you may be upset and angry with yourself, the logic does sort of move in the direction I'm suggesting. Now, some of you might have also said to yourself, well, why are you just reducing the wages of everybody except top executives? And why are you eliminating healthcare and retirement benefits for all employees except top executives? And the reason that presumably Hacksaw Bob would give is the same reason you saw with regard to the market for stars. Companies are trying desperately to recruit and retain what they consider to be talent. So they're going to pay them a lot of money, and they're not going to cut benefits. But when it comes to typical workers, mostly hourly wage workers, they are regarded by most companies as fungible, in the sense that easily replaceable pieces. Now we'll come back to this assumption. But let me go back to my plan B. If you like plan A, you're going to love plan B. Okay, savings plan B. We're going to cut the cost of worker safety. Now, before you object, let me just make sure you understand that it's costing us a fortune. And here's the thing. If you multiply what we will save times the chance of us actually having to pay a fine for violating worker safety laws, times the amount that we would have to pay, we still come out ahead. Do you understand what I'm saying? We eliminate overtime pay. Now, strictly speaking, and don't say I've ever said this, because all your notes are going to be confiscated at the end of our meeting, but overtime pay is required by law, but we can figure out ways of putting people on contract and changing their workloads, and we can actually, other companies are doing it, we can do it. We're going to fire anyone over 45. Not that I have anything against people over 45, but they move up in the pay scales, and we want younger workers. Right? You like this. I can tell. You're very excited by all of these ideas. And we're not promoting or training women. Because you know what I'm getting to. I mean, you promote them, you train them, what happens? They leave. No more of that. And this is a lot of the companies around here are doing this. It's an ace in the hole. It's fabulous. So, okay, everybody, I want your votes. Everybody with me, say put A. Everybody against me, B. Go. And let's see how many of you were with me on Plan B. Well, there are 87 of you who like my plan. No more role-playing. Personally, I would never do any of this. And I never recommend any of this be done. But you can see, and for the purpose of this class, I just want you to see the relationship between the logic of my Plan A and the logic of my Plan B. If you agree to Plan A, then the only difference between Plan A and Plan B is that Plan B is illegal and immoral, but it's illegal. But as I said, if you multiply the penalty times the chance of actually it being enforced and compare that to how much we'll save, you can come up with a rationale.